Have you ever heard someone say, well, lightning never strikes the same place twice? It's a very popular saying, one that people use all the time. Usually, they say it to make someone feel better after something bad has happened. It's like saying, don't worry, you've had your share of bad luck for a while. The idea is that once a rare, unfortunate event occurs, it's so incredibly unlikely to happen again that you can relax. It's a comforting thought, isn't it? It gives us a sense of order and fairness in a world that can sometimes feel very random and chaotic. It's a nice little mental security blanket. This phrase has been around for a very long time, passed down from generation to generation like a piece of family wisdom. People use it to talk about all sorts of things, not just thunderstorms. Maybe a friend's car broke down twice in 1 month, and you say, wow, I thought lightning wasn't supposed to strike twice. It has become a part of our language, a shorthand way of expressing surprise when bad luck seems to pile up. The saying is based on the idea that lightning strikes are so rare and random that the odds of hitting the exact same spot again are practically zero. But is that really how it works? Is it science, or is it just a feel-good story we tell ourselves? Let's think about it with our science brains. The world is a huge place, with billions and billions of square feet of surface area. So, at first glance, the idea that a single zillion-volt bolt of electricity would happen to find the exact same tiny spot on the globe more than once seems pretty far-fetched. It's easy to see why people would believe this. It taps into our understanding of probability and chance. If you drop a penny from an airplane, what are the odds it will land on the same blade of grass twice? Pretty slim. The saying feels logical, which is why it has stuck around for so long and become a belief that many people accept without question. But here's the thing about science. It's all about questioning things, even things that seem obvious. Just because an idea is old and popular doesn't automatically make it true. Science encourages us to look for evidence, to test our assumptions, and to see if reality matches up with our beliefs. So, today, we are going to put this old saying under the scientific microscope. We're going to investigate the world of atmospheric electricity and see if lightning really does follow this rule. Prepare yourselves, because the answer might be, dare I say, let's get ready to bust a myth wide open and replace it with some seriously cool scientific facts. Alright, let's get straight to the point. The saying that lightning never strikes the same place twice is completely, totally, and scientifically false. It's a myth. A tall tale, a fib. In fact, not only lightning strike the same place twice, but it often does. Some places get hit over and over and over again. Think of it this way. If you're the tallest person in a crowd, you're more likely to be noticed. Lightning works in a similar way. It's looking for the easiest, most direct path to the ground, and certain spots on Earth make for very attractive targets. They practically roll out the welcome mat for a lightning bolt. Let's look at some famous examples. Consider the magnificent Empire State Building in New York City. This towering skyscraper sticks way up into the clouds, making it a prime target for electrical discharges. How often does it get struck? Not once, not twice, but an average of 25 times per year. Some years, it's been hit as many as 100 times. The building is so good at attracting lightning that scientists actually go there to study it. They have special equipment set up to record the strikes. If the myth were true, the Empire State Building would have had its one and only strike way back in the 1930s and been safe ever since. But science and observation tell us a very different story. It's not just an American phenomenon. Let's travel north to Toronto, Canada, and look at the CN Tower. For a long time it was the tallest freestanding structure in the world. And just like its New York cousin, it is a lightning magnet. The CN Tower gets zapped by lightning an average of 75 times every year. The people who work there are completely used to it. The tower was designed with a robust lightning protection system to handle all that electrical energy safely. So, instead of avoiding it, some structures are built to attract and manage lightning strikes, using their height to their advantage to protect the surrounding area. And what about the Eiffel Tower in Paris? That beautiful, intricate iron lattice is also a fantastic conductor of electricity. It gets hit by lightning bolts about 10 times per year, on average. All of these famous landmarks prove the same point. Lightning is not random. It follows the laws of physics. It prefers tall, pointy things that are made of conductive materials, because those things offer a shortcut to the ground. The myth is not just wrong, it's the exact opposite of what really happens. The truth is, lightning to strike the same place twice, especially if it's a good target. So, why is lightning so predictable in its choices? To understand that, we need to look at how lightning is made. It all starts inside those big, puffy, dark storm clouds, which are called cumulonimbus clouds. Inside these clouds, it's a very busy place. Tiny bits of ice and water droplets are bumping and rubbing against each other as they are tossed around by strong winds. This constant rubbing and bumping is a lot like when you rub a balloon on your hair. It creates static electricity. The process, called charge separation, causes the top of the cloud to become positively charged and the bottom of the cloud to become negatively charged. Now, nature loves balance. It doesn't like it when positive and negative charges are separated like this. It wants to bring them back together. As the negative charge builds up at the bottom of the cloud, it starts to attract positive charges on the ground below it. The positive charge will gather on the surface of the earth, especially on things that stick up high, like trees, buildings, and flagpoles. The air between the cloud and the ground acts as an insulator, trying to keep the charges apart. But as the charge difference gets bigger and bigger, the electrical pressure becomes too much for the air to handle. It's like blowing up a balloon until it finally pops. Eventually, the negative charge from the cloud starts to send down a series of faint, invisible feelers toward the ground. These are called stepped leaders. They zigzag down in short bursts, looking for the easiest path. As they get closer to the ground, the positive charges on the tall objects below get even more excited. A stream of positive charge, called an upward streamer, will actually reach up from the ground to meet the stepped leader. When one of these upward streamers connects with a downward stepped leader, bam! A connection is made. This creates a superhighway for electricity to flow. In that instant, a massive, brilliant bolt of electricity, the part we actually see as lightning, shoots up from the ground to the cloud along this newly formed path. This is called the return stroke, and it's incredibly hot and bright. It all happens so fast that it looks like one single flash coming from the sky down. After the first stroke, more strokes can follow down the very same path, which is why lightning sometimes appears to flicker. So, you see, lightning isn't just randomly throwing bolts around. It's actively seeking out the path of least resistance, and a tall, conductive object is the best path it can find. If the science is so clear, why did the myth that lightning never strikes the same place twice become so popular in the first place? Well, we have to travel back in time, to an era before we had skyscrapers with lightning rods and a deep scientific understanding of electricity. For most of human history, a lightning strike was a terrifying and mysterious event. People saw it as an act of the gods, a random, powerful force from the heavens. In a world without scientific explanations, people created stories and sayings to make sense of things they couldn't control. The idea that a strike was a one-time event was reassuring. Think about it from the perspective of someone living in a small village hundreds of years ago. A massive oak tree in the center of the village gets split in two by a lightning bolt. It's a shocking, memorable disaster. The odds of another bolt hitting that exact same spot, among all the other trees and houses in the world, would seem incredibly small. People would naturally conclude that it was a freak accident, a singular event that would never be repeated. This observation, based on limited experience, would then be passed down as wisdom. Don't worry about that spot anymore, they might say. Lightning has already been there. The saying also feeds into a very human need for fairness and hope. We want to believe that once we've endured a bit of bad luck, we're safe for a while. It's a psychological coping mechanism. It helps us feel less vulnerable in a world full of unpredictable dangers. If your barn burned down from a lightning strike, believing it wouldn't happen again gave you the courage to rebuild. The saying became a metaphor for all kinds of misfortune. It was a simple, comforting idea that helped people feel a sense of security and optimism in the face of tragedy. It was folk wisdom that prioritized emotional comfort over scientific accuracy. This belief became deeply embedded in our culture long before scientists like Benjamin Franklin started flying kites in storms, to prove that lightning was just a form of electricity. By the time science caught up and explained how lightning really works, that it actually prefers certain targets, the myth was already a famous and widely accepted saying. Old habits and old beliefs die hard, especially when they offer comfort. Even today, though we have overwhelming evidence to the contrary, the phrase persists because it's catchy, it feels right, and its metaphorical meaning is still useful for cheering people up. Believing that lightning won't strike the same place twice isn't just scientifically wrong. It can be incredibly dangerous. This isn't just a harmless old saying when people apply it literally during a thunderstorm. It can lead to a false sense of security, causing people to make risky decisions that put their lives in jeopardy. Imagine you are out hiking in the mountains, and a thunderstorm rolls in. You see a lightning bolt hit a tall pine tree on a nearby ridge. If you believe the myth, you might think, great, that spot is now the safest place to be. I'll go stand near that tree because lightning won't go there again. This is a terrible, life-threatening mistake. There is a tragic, true story that illustrates this danger perfectly. In 2011, a park ranger in Shenandoah National Park named Roy Sullivan was recognized by Guinness World Records for being the person struck by lightning the most recorded times. He was struck 7 different times between 1942 and 1977. He wasn't standing in the same spot each time, but his story demolishes the idea that lightning grants you immunity. A more direct example involves a hiker who sought shelter under a tree that had clearly been struck by lightning before, thinking it was now safe. Sadly, the tree was struck again, and the hiker was severely injured. The very thing that makes a spot a target once, its height, its isolation, is exactly what makes it a target again and again. The danger lies in underestimating the power and behavior of nature. A thunderstorm is a massive electrical generator, and it will continue to discharge electricity until its internal charges are balanced. It doesn't remember where it has struck before. It only follows the laws of physics, seeking the most efficient path to the ground in that very moment. If a particular tree or rock outcropping was the best path a minute ago, it will likely still be the best path a minute later. Believing the myth might lead someone to remain in an open field, stay on a boat in the water, or continue playing golf because they think the odds are in their favor. This false sense of security is the real enemy. It makes us lower our guard when we should be most alert. Every single thunderstorm has the potential to produce multiple lightning strikes in the same general area, and sometimes in the exact same spot. Thinking any location is used up or immune after one strike is like thinking a hungry lion won't return to a waterhole where it has successfully hunted before. Of course it will. That's where the food is. For lightning, that's where the easy path to the ground is. We must respect the science, not the superstition. Now that we've busted the myth, let's talk about what really matters. How to stay safe when you hear that rumble and see that flash. The best advice is simple and easy to remember. When thunder roars, go indoors. This is the single most important rule. The moment you hear thunder, you are close enough to the storm to be struck by lightning. Don't wait for the rain to start or for the lightning to get closer. Seek shelter immediately in a substantial, fully enclosed building. A house, a school, or a large public building is perfect. A picnic shelter, a dugout, or a carport is not safe. They are open structures that won't protect you. If you can't get to a proper building, a hard-topped metal vehicle, like a car, van, or bus, is the next best choice. It's a common misconception that the rubber tires protect you. They don't. What actually protects you is the metal frame of the car. If lightning strikes the car, the electricity will travel through the metal shell and into the ground, a phenomenon known as the Faraday cage effect. The electricity goes around you, not through you. Just make sure you roll up the windows and don't touch any of the metal parts inside the car, like the door handles, radio, or gear shift, until the storm has passed. What if you're caught outside with no building or car nearby? This is a scary situation, but there are things you can do to reduce your risk. First, get away from high ground and isolated tall objects like trees, poles, or towers. Remember, lightning loves those. Also, stay away from water and anything that conducts electricity, like metal fences or power lines. You want to avoid being the tallest thing around. If you are in an open field, crouch down low, on the balls of your feet, with your head tucked and your hands over your ears. This makes you a smaller target and minimizes your contact with the ground. Do not lie flat on the ground, as that increases your contact with electrical currents that can travel through the earth. Finally, a good rule of thumb is to wait at least 30 minutes after the last clap of thunder before you go back outside. Lightning can strike from a storm that is more than 10 miles away, even when the sky above you looks clear. This is sometimes called a bolt from the blue. So, don't be fooled by a lull in the storm. Be patient and wait it out. By following these simple, science-based safety tips, you can dramatically reduce your risk and enjoy the awesome power of a thunderstorm from a safe distance. Your safety is far more important than any old myth. We've firmly established that in the world of meteorology, lightning definitely strikes the same place twice. But what about the other way we use this phrase? As we talked about earlier, it's often used as a metaphor for life's troubles. People say it to suggest that a rare piece of bad luck, like a car accident or a serious illness, won't happen to the same person again. It's a comforting thought, but if we're being scientific and logical, does the metaphor really hold up any better than the myth itself? Honestly, not really. Life, just like lightning, doesn't always follow rules of fairness. Think about it. Some people seem to face more challenges than others. A person who lives in an area prone to flooding is sadly more likely to have their house damaged by water more than once. Someone with a genetic predisposition to a certain health condition may have to face that illness multiple times or in different forms throughout their life. These are not random, one-off events. They are often the result of underlying conditions, environmental factors, or systemic issues, just as lightning strikes are the result of atmospheric conditions and physics. Unfortunate events can and do repeat, especially if the circumstances that caused them the first time are still present. This doesn't mean we should live in fear, expecting bad things to happen over and over. Instead, it suggests a more proactive and realistic way of thinking. Instead of relying on the hope that bad luck won't repeat, we can learn from our experiences and prepare. If your basement flooded once, you can install a sump pump and waterproof the walls. If you had a car accident at a dangerous intersection, you can choose a different route next time. This is the human equivalent of putting a lightning rod on a building. We identify a vulnerability and take smart, practical steps to mitigate the risk for the future. Ultimately, busting this myth, both literally and metaphorically, empowers us. It encourages us to move away from superstition and wishful thinking and toward a mindset of awareness, preparedness, and resilience. Science teaches us to observe the world, understand how it works, and use that knowledge to make safer, smarter choices. So, the next time you see a storm brewing or face a difficult challenge in life, don't cross your fingers and hope lightning won't strike twice. Instead, trust in what you know, take sensible precautions, and remember that knowledge is your best shield. Stay curious, stay safe, and don't be afraid to question the things you've always heard.